What's happening, YouTube? I am so excited to be back with you. I wanted to show you, first off, this was one of my pours the last time. You know, I posted a thing that said, did I fail? I don't think I failed. This is another bucket that I just left alone, and this is about 30 days cured, and pretty awesome. Yeah, it's got a little bit of mash that you can get into it, but once we put the fabric on this, if this were a building block, it would be awesome. And so that's exciting. I think I got it right. Anyway, thanks for all you guys. Excuse me a second. Ugh. Thanks to all you guys for your comments and your likes and your subscribes. That means a lot to me, and it tells me that, hey, I might be offering, did I get some concrete in my beard there? Might be offering some information that's helpful. We're gonna do something today that it's kind of like I guess you'd say Aircrete 101, right? We learned how to make the gun, we learned how to do our first pour, and now one of the simplest projects out there is a rocket stove. It's really, really simple. If you found this video, you probably have already researched some rocket stoves, and there's a lot of them out there. You can make rocket stoves out of brick, which I have here. You can make them out of masonry block, which I have here. It's interesting that this block is heavier than that giant slab of Aircrete. Now, I've seen others on YouTube that have made like a, you know, sort of a kiln kind of a thing, or a refractory, I don't know the right word, but I just want to make a stove. This is simple. However, I keep seeing people fill up a Homer bucket, a 5-gallon bucket, which I don't have one right here because I'm not going to use one, and then they cut a hole in it, which renders the bucket useless. And if they can, they have to cut the bucket open, so it's trash, right? It's $3 for a form. Why couldn't we use something else? So I'm gonna try it with cardboard and anything that you can get that will create a void in your form for your fuel and your flue. And I'm gonna try cardboard. If that doesn't work, I got 2-liter bottles. We'll see what happens. So stay tuned. Got a brand new bag of Portland cement. So let's make some Aircrete. Okay, the first thing I gotta do, sorry, don't ever run with these. First thing I gotta do is cut down my cardboard to make the proper size. I'm gonna make it about the size of a Homer bucket. And simple business, we're just gonna have to cut and tape. So here we go. Gorilla tape, a little more expensive, does the job. So far this is a little bit bigger than a Homer bucket. That's more like it. All right, so I have cut my trash bag up and I'm placing this in here. This does not take a whole lot of DIY information. You know how to fill a box with plastic, so just do it. Okay, please forgive the excessive perspiration. It is unbelievably humid down here in Atlanta, Georgia in July. So I have taken this box that was recycled, about to go to the trash, cut it down to a reasonable height, width, and depth. The depth, of course, is up to me, and I'll show you that. We're gonna, we've lined it with some plastic, albeit not the best job of lining with plastic, but you know, to start, we'll see how it goes. Now, all you gotta do is get a void to fill the area that you don't want concrete to be, obviously, right? So you've got, I've seen people use PVC. PVC costs money, right? And you have to saw it and you have to cement it together or some sort of a mechanism to keep it all behaving. And so I thought, why would we do that when there are other items that are more disposable and cheaper and not wasteful, sort of. So we're gonna try to make a flue and a fuel chamber with more cardboard. Here we go. This is another piece of cardboard. I know that I want my chamber to be about, we're just gonna use this as my guide. It's probably about 5 or 6 inches. So it's easier to score this along the corrugation of the cardboard because it'll just, similar to sheetrock, it'll just fold nice and behavior-like, sort of, like that. All right. Now let's do another one. That's scored, and let's do a fourth one. And that's gonna leave us a handy dandy 3-inch little tab where we can tape this sucker together. All nice and cool. Now, this is too tall of a flue, all right? So I'm actually going to, if you were to look here, I don't know if you can see, let's do it that way. If this were gonna be my flue, clearly I have about this much, which is perfect for my fuel chamber. So let's cut that joker off. There is some science involved to this. I saw online where it was sort of a 1-to-3 ratio of fuel chamber to fuel, to flue. But you know what? This is about as good as it's gonna get. So let's take this piece up. Alright, so this is what we're shooting for. Something like that. But obviously, we've got to do something to marry these guys. So I'm going to put 2 90-degree cuts along here, and we're going to make a L out of this. Let's see how it goes. Not the sharpest razor blade. Bada bing, bada boom. Now we just got to fit it together. Understand, it really doesn't make any difference how pretty this is, okay? Thank goodness. But inside all the joints, it doesn't matter because nothing's going to be pressed against that other than on the outside. So it's nice to have kind of a nice smooth outside. Just, you don't want any hindrances to your fire and your air and all that stuff. Any things that are going to catch. So we are now marrying these. All right, kids, here we go. There is our fuel chamber and flue. Now it is not at a perfect 90. That's not going to be the end of the world. I wish it were a little more perfect of a 90. But you know what? For no tools, no measurements, just eyeballing this, not too shabby. All right, let's get it fitted into our form. So this is what we're going for. We're simply going to cut a hole up here at the top, shove a few inches of this through it, and we'll be ready to pour. All right, guys, so there we go. We've got the flue and the fuel chamber in there. We've got the plastic, we've got the cardboard, we're ready to go. Obviously, we're gonna need to put a little Aircrete in here to hold this form up while we pour, and we might wanna put some plastic around it. I don't think it's gonna saturate it, but you never know. Okay, it's time to make the aircrete. We've got a 94-pound bag of Portland cement, and that's gonna make about 50 gallons of aircrete. I don't need 50 gallons for this project. I need less than half of that, but I'm gonna go ahead and mix up half of the bag with 3 gallons of water, make a slurry, and then fill my 50-gallon drum up to halfway with air foam, and then I'll mix it all together. So let's make it. This is a 7-gallon container. I know once the water starts pouring out the top, I have 7 gallons. So I'll be able to have, that's just foam from the last time I made foam in this container. But when the water starts, there it is. So now I have 7 gallons. I'm gonna pour off about a half a gallon, which will get me down to just under the handle. And then I'll pour half that water into my giant 50-gallon drum. Just a quick tip, you know to put the water in first, because when you put the cement in, it makes a giant cloud of clay that goes up your nose and in your face. And if the water's there to catch some of it, it makes it a little bit more bearable. It also has to do with how it mixes. So put the water in first. That says 4.5. So we have another half gallon to drop in here. Let's do it. Makes me have to pee. We are back down to 4 gallons on the dot. Woohoo! Let's make some concrete. So with the rest of the water in my 7-gallon container, I'm going to make my soap solution. Now this is way more soap solution than I really need, but why waste the water? Just, you know, put it to use. So here's the soap. This is 3 times grease fighting, great value dishwashing liquid from Walmart. Really cheap. And I'm ballparking it, but it's gonna be about the same amount that you see missing there. So let's give this a shot. There is science behind this. You want your foam to weigh between about 95 grams for a quart. Now, last time I struck it rich, I got lucky. You gotta have real thick foam. So we'll just see how it looks and go from there. What do you think? Looks about right. All right, if you're a little perplexed by my foam gun, go back and watch the previous video on how I made it. This is just a test to see if our foam solution is going to be about right. Got everything hooked up? Let's give it a shot. Alright, well that was a little bit messy. I got it all over in my little building here, but that's alright. Let's make some concrete now. Yeah, I'm afraid the wife's going to be a little frustrated with the the foam brigade in there. So now let's make the concrete. Remember, I already put the water in, so we're good there. I'm going to use half a bag of the Portland cement. Stuff's heavy. Oh yeah, always take off the Apple Watch before you start mixing concrete. Stand by. There we go. the consistency? Seems a little thin to me. I'm gonna put a little bit more cement in. Hopefully we'll get it right. This is where the magic happens. Air first. No, water first. Ain't it beautiful? Does my air gun leak? Yeah. Am I worried about it? Not really. It's a messy project. Alright, looks like we're at about halfway full, a little bit less. So I'm gonna stop there and call it. Let's mix it up. All right, guys, this may be a failed batch. Tell you why. For one thing, the volume of the foam went down to probably 20% while I was mixing it up. You see that there. And the other thing, though you can't really see them right now, as I was mixing, I saw a lot of big bubbles. You don't want the big bubbles. Little bubbles are what are your friend. Big bubbles, not so much. So we'll see. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it. Could be my form dissolves and this whole thing is a wreck. But we're gonna try it because we got this far. So here we go. Let's pour some stuff. I got a bad feeling about this. I'm going to use this little red container to help transport into my form. And we're just gonna hope and pray that it doesn't melt. Bucket would have been a little bit more trustworthy at this point. All right, we are filled up to our edge there. So now I'm going to pour around this form. This thing keeps wanting to float on me, so I gotta figure out how to keep it down while it's sitting in here, but it's trying to float up. Oh, another fun fact. That's where all my Aircrete's going. Let's call this a fail. Okay. Good news and bad news. Bad news is that cardboard form is crap. I don't know why I thought liquid would hold up, but anyway. The good news is, upon further investigation, my Aircrete might be okay. So, I have a plan B. I poured my Aircrete in that Rubbermaid container. Now I'm going to make me my fuel chamber and flue out of these. Okay, here's plan B. 79-cent 2-liter bottles. Sacrifice the drink, sorry. Gonna shove this down in the concrete. Let's see how we do. Something like that. Now we gotta keep it from floating because it wants to float. Maybe we should just abandon all hope. Nay, we shall not abandon all hope. We shall go back to our trusty first pour of Aircrete and use this block to weight that sucker down. Now, we just gotta let it cure. This should be interesting. Okay, we're a little over 48 hours since we had our pour/disaster. And let's take a look and see how it's doing. I'm gonna move this up where I got a little more room to work. Remember last time when I coated this with vegetable oil? Didn't do that because I was in such a panic. Might have been a good idea. We're gonna cut this thing. All right, you remember we still have the flue and the fuel chamber in there. Right there's the fuel chamber, so let's assume the flue, I can kind of see it right here. We just got to dig it out. All right, we have a fuel chamber right here, and we have a flue. Can you see my finger down there? Here's what we also have, really wet cement. So you can see some of this was breaking here. I'm just gonna let it go for a few more days. This is quite a substantial block of Aircrete. It, I'm sure will work, but we're gonna give it some time. But this is pretty much how not to make one of these things. But if it works, then it certainly would be a possible way. Oh, look, joy. We got a bigger problem. Not the end of the world, because I've seen people just set these right on the ground, but not what I had hoped. Y'all need to see it burn. Satisfaction. How about this? After this cures a little bit, I'll give you another video. So my mantra with John Was Bored is kind of, can I do it faster, cheaper, better, or simpler? And I think in the case of the rocket stove, the answer is no. I was worried about spending about $8 to $10 on a Homer bucket and some PVC pipe, and I ended up spending $4 on 2-liter bottles and a probably $3 Rubbermaid tote. So it all worked out about the same, and I have a much less reliable product. But hey, I learned something. I promise I'll get you some more wins in future videos. But this is all about learning. So do me a favor, subscribe, and you'll see more disasters or hopefully some wins. Hit the little bell so you can know when I post something new, and be sure and comment, like, share. It all helps spread the love. Thanks for watching. John Was Bored.